This is 8th grade, Module 7 for Lesson 21 on volume of composite solids. So we're going to find the volume of this chest here. If you notice, we have two shapes. We have a rectangular prism, and then we have like a semicircle top here. Now, the first thing we want to do is go ahead and find the volume of this bottom here. So we're going to say 4 times 15.3 times 6. And then we're going to add it to this top. So we know we're going to add to the top. Now, since this is a semicircle, we're going to say half of the pi times the radius. Now, the radius is half of this. So since it's 4 going all the way across, the radius would then be just halfway across, which is 2. So we're going to say 2 squared, and its height goes this way. Its height is going to be 15.3. So they just wanted an expression, so that's all that they really wanted us to solve for at this point. So that is your answer. Now let's look down at B. B says to go ahead and solve this out and round your answer to the nearest 10th. All right, so first one, we're going to do that rectangular bottom. So we're going to say 4 times 15.3 times 6. I'm going to combine these two, and I get 61.2 times 6, which gives me 367.2. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that semicircle top. That's going to be volume equals 1/2 pi times 2 squared times 15.3. This is going to be half pi times 4 times 15.3. Combine these two, it comes to 61.2. Bring down everything else. 2 does go into 61.2, which gives me 30.6 pi. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply. They're telling us to use 3.14. I know in class we've said to use the pi key on your calculator. If it states to use 3.14, then just use 3.14. Don't use your pi key. And this will give me 96.084. All right, so there's my other answer. Now I'm going to take these two answers and add them together. So I'm going to say 367.2 plus 96.084 gives me a grand total of 463.284 feet cubed. All right, let's look at the next one. Next one, we have an ice cream cone. Write an expression for the volume of this ice cream cone and its scoop. All right, so the expression here is first we want to find this top part here. And as we remember from previous lessons, all right, there's your right triangle, something like that. So the formula for that is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed, and then we're going to add that to the volume of the cone, which we have practiced with, is 1/3 pi r squared h. So let's put some numbers in now. We have 4/3 pi times 1 cubed plus 1/3 pi times 1 squared times 3, the height. And that's my expression. So now, if we go ahead and solve it, it says, assuming every part of the cone is filled to the top, we're then going to solve for pi. How much are we getting here? So I'm going to first solve for just the ice cream scoop. That's going to be the sphere. So that's going to be 4/3 pi 1 to the 3rd power. 4/3 pi times 1. Which is just going to give me 4/3 pi. And again, it's telling me to use 3.14, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So 4/3 times 3.14 equals 4.19. All right, now let's solve for the cone. The cone is going to be 1/3 pi r squared, which is 1 squared, times 3. So 1/3 pi times 1 times 3, which we know is going to be 3. So that's 1/3 pi times 3. Now my 3's cancel, leaving me with 1 times pi. So my answer is going to be pi, 3.14. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and add these together. I'm going to say 4.19 plus 3.14 is going to give me 7.33 inches cubed. And that's my final answer. All right, let's go on to the next one. So we have a basketball trophy here, and we want to know what is the expression for solving this. So we have several different shapes. We have a rectangular base, we have a cylinder for the post, and then we have a sphere for the ball. So we're going to have 3 different setups. Let's first do the rectangular base. So the rectangular base is going to be length times width times height, and this is the rectangular base, plus the cylinder. The cylinder is going to be pi r squared h. This is going to be the cylinder piece. And then we're going to add that to the sphere, which is 4/3 pi r cubed. And this is going to be for the ball. All right, so now let's put in some actual numbers. This is going to be 5 times 5 times 2 plus pi times half squared times 6. And the reason it's half is because if you notice down here, this 1 goes all the way across, and that's the diameter. So half of 1 is half. Now for the ball, we have 4/3 pi times the radius, and the radius is half of this 5, so that's going to be 2.5 cubed. So that's the answer they want for A. And now we're going to go down and start solving this out. So I'm going to let you guys start off with the easier one. Go ahead and find the volume of the rectangle. And that's the length times width times height. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to. We're going to now solve for the volume of the cylinder. That is going to be the pi r squared h. So that's pi times half squared times 6. And that's going to give me, half squared gives me 1/4 times 6. And I'll just put the pi over here on the side now, which gives me 6/4. And I can reduce that to 3/2 pi. Multiply that by pi. 3/2 times 3.14. That's going to give me 4.71. All right, now let's look for the ball or the sphere. I'll just say ball for right now. That's going to give me 4/3 pi r cubed. So 4/3 pi times 2.5 cubed. Well, if you cube 2.5, you're going to get 15.625. Now I'm going to multiply that by 4. I'm just going to go ahead and say 4 times that. And that's going to give me 62.5 all over 3. Multiply that by pi, and I get 65.42. So you're going to take the answer that you guys got over here for the volume of the rectangle, add these 3 up, and give me your final answer. All right, I actually had to come back to the problem because I just realized there was a part that I forgot. It wants to know how much silver will be used to make the trophy. So the exact amount All right, we found the rounded amount up above when you added all those answers together. Now we're going to find the exact amount. So we're going to leave those terms of pi, which means we're not going to multiply by pi. Since pi is a repeating ongoing decimal, we're not going to get an exact answer. So we're just going to leave it in terms of pi. So we're going to say volume equals 50 plus 3/2 pi plus 62.5 over 3 pi. Taking all my answers that you guys added up together, this gives me 50 plus, now I'm going to combine these two. So 3 over 2 plus 62.5 over 3 pi. Now I need a common denominator here, which would be 6. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 3, this whole thing by 2. So that's going to give me 50 plus 9 over 6 plus 125 over 6 pi. When I combine these two, I get 134 over 6. Add that to the 50 over 1. And again, you need a common denominator, but I don't need to actually because that has a pi attached to it. So what I can do is reduce this fraction. So I'm going to leave the 50 and the plus. This reduces down by 2 to 67 over 3 pi. So that is my exact answer of how much silver is needed. All right, let's go on to number 4. All right, now number 4, we have 3 different sizes here of some scoops. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down so I have a little bit more room to write. We're going to go ahead and label these scoops. We're going to fill these up with something, ice cream, whatever you want to think of. So this is going to be scoop 1, this will be scoop 2, and this will be scoop 3. All right, so I'm going to start you guys off, and then you're going to find all the answers. Now at the end, they want you to say, put them in order from least to greatest. So for volume 1, we're going to use volume equals pi r squared h. For volume 2, we're going to use volume equals half. And because this is it's a semicircle, so it's half of a sphere, we're then going to say 4/3 pi r cubed. And then over here, for this one, that's a truncated cone. So this is volume 3. We're going to say, first we need to find out this piece right here. So we're going to set up our proportion. So I'm going to say 0.5 over 3.75 equals x plus 1 over x. And I did it that way because we're not actually, we don't have anything really to solve up here. It's just this part right here. So we're going to go ahead and cross multiply those. And I get 0.375x plus 0.375 equals 0.5x. I'm going to subtract this. And I get 0.375 equals 0.125x. I'm going to divide this out. And my x comes to 3. All right, now you're going to take that and find its volume of the 2 cones. And remember that you're going to use 1/3 pi r squared h for both of these, for the small one and for the large one. So in the end, you will have an answer for this one, this one, this one, and then a total from least to greatest. So this one will have 4 answers. All right. Actually, this one will have, in itself, this one has 3 answers because we just found x, that's 3. This will be the small, and this will be the large. Actually, 4 answers. And then this will be the large minus the small. So you have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 answers for number 4. So make sure that you have all 7 answers total before you're done. Now, I will let you go ahead and just write skip for B. We're just going to end it with this problem here. So on the next page, just put skip. And that ends this video tutorial.